Hi, Kim Avenue here. Um, for our Thursday Hangouts, I asked Richard Maude to come and join us and to talk to us about Cash FX. Now, Richard is very successful. He's already president, and I love to listen to him. He gives us so much important information. So I started off by asking Richard about what he was doing before he joined Cash FX.
I hated working for other people. I found that a lot of the people I was working for I didn't respect, and I felt the decisions were incorrect and a lot of things that they were doing. And I hated the commute. And even though I was making a lot of money, it was weird. I felt as if I wasn't making a lot of money. I felt that as I was making the money, it was going. And so I didn't realize at the time, but of course, I was selling my time for money, which is not smart. And if you look at any of the successful people around the world, you'll see that invariably they're making money work for them, not the other way around. And for those of you that haven't, I always recommend reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, because he talks about that very thing. You build up an income in a certain business and then you become an investor, so the money then ends up working for you, which is definitely the best way. And that's the great thing about network marketing, of course, is it gives you that opening to be able to create a passive income stream, which you really can't in other businesses. It always makes me smile because I've got friends that think what I do is dealing with broke people that are not successful and this kind of thing, when it couldn't be further from the truth. The people that we deal with in this business, regardless of their background, are people that become successful, and that's the great feature of this business, is it's a great leveler. But anyway, I was looking around for things, and I looked at traditional businesses, and effectively saw out of the frying pan into the fire. So that didn't appeal to me. And I got introduced to network marketing quite by chance. I pretty well saw it straight away. I thought, wow, everyone's going to jump into this. And went into it with both feet and was absolutely terrible at it. Often people think that just because you've got a corporate background, that it's a big advantage. Well, it really isn't. In fact, I was doing it completely wrong, and my first year I didn't really get anywhere. But I realized that people were making a lot of money in the industry, so I just started reading books on it and just learned what I needed to do to build a business. And I also had a very strong why, which is something that's really important. And my why was to get myself out of the corporate world. And that was really, really important to me. I was so excited about that prospect of being able to create passive income streams and that kind of thing. So it was worth putting the effort. And it really was. It was really tough in the early days because, of course, as a corporate sales director, I was working long hours with a commute, and then I was building my network marketing business on top of that. So I literally had no life for quite a few years until I actually managed to retire out of the corporate world. Now, I still work in the corporate world. I often work on as a consultant on a board, often in a marketing role and or a fundraising role. But I do that more because I want to rather than because I have to, which is a nice difference. And I also invest in startup companies and raise funds for projects as well. Currently working on a project at the moment with Jojo. He's someone obviously that can put a lot of money into a project. And that kind of thing. And that, by the way, is one of the special features of the business, the fact that you look at the caliber of people in the business. It's very successful business people are coming into this company because they can see that CFX is really special. But so I have multiple fingers in multiple pies, but network marketing is my passion. Because I love the model, the way you help other people become successful to become successful yourself. And it's been an interesting sort of progression over the years, because I've been in product-based businesses. I was the number one in Europe with a product-based company called Melaleuca. I was the first executive director in Europe with that company, and I became sort of not, I started to lose belief in that business model, because if you have a product-based business, you're having to sell a product, and people struggle to do that. And therefore, a lot of people weren't making money. and as a result, the attrition was very high. And it got to the point where I was introducing people to the concept, and I was thinking at the same time that, you know, they've got two hopes, Bob Hope and No Hope, of being successful. And that for me was not good. You know, if I'm going to refer someone to something, I want them to make money. So this again is where CFX is special, because of course when you refer someone, you know they're going to make money with the business. And you know, if we look at what's going on in the business, we've been in the business now 21 months. You know, you look at people like yourself and Hazel, and many other people in my business. You know, it is life-changing for people, and you know, also life-saving for people. I mean, the number of conversations I've had with people, successful business people. I mean, one chap I was speaking to a month ago, he built up 3 really successful businesses over 20 years, and over a 10-day period, thanks to the virus, all 3 collapsed on him. And you know, he said, thank goodness, you know, he was in CFX. You know, he's a director in the business and doing really well on a 100K pack. Just bought his wife a nice Range Rover as a result. So, you know, he said if it hadn't been for CFX, he'd be in a really dark place right now, because, you know, he would have lost everything. And that's, I think, something that I'd like to talk a little bit about actually today, is all about positioning. If you look historically, back in history, there's always been very famous people that have been extremely wealthy in each time frames. And what was it that made those people special? It was simply because they had the vision to see what was going to happen in the market around the world, and they positioned themselves ahead of that, and that's what made them very successful. So again, unfortunately, you know, as the world progresses and things change and that kind of thing, there are always winners and losers, but the losers are people that fail to adapt. The winners are people that see what's coming and then adapt and move into those particular markets. And it's always painful to see, you know, for example, if you look at where industries are dying, the way people try and hang on to that, you know, as if it's going to change. And of course it doesn't. I mean, a good example of that was when the miners, you know, that the market here in the UK collapsed, and therefore, you know, it was no longer viable, and a lot of miners, you know, hung on to that, whereas other people had already moved out of those markets. Now, thankfully, most of them have now moved out into other areas and stuff, but that's where you want to be. You want to be someone that is looking ahead and seeing what is happening with regard to the world's market. And we actually have right now an unprecedented opportunity. Often when times of recession, most people see that as a time of, you know, real problems and everything else, when the reality is recessions are what you really want, because there are times of huge opportunity to position yourself ahead. Again, if you look at people, for example, in property markets, you know, if you have a big recession and property prices have plummeted, when's the best time to buy? When the prices are low, so that when you come out of recession, happy days. So again, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you know, Robert Kiyosaki, he does exactly that. So if you look at CFX, now obviously right now we've got the virus, which is affecting people across the globe, and will probably continue to do so. People losing jobs and businesses. You know, the job market in itself is probably going to change, because of course a lot of companies have now realized, of course, that they can survive with probably a lot less staff, and also don't need offices and all sorts of things. So in this marketplace, there are going to be winners and losers. Again, some businesses are going to do very well, many others are not. The travel industry, for example, is one that is, you know, a real casualty right now. Again, same thing with restaurants and pubs, etc. So people are looking for ways of, you know, making money. And if you look historically, during times of recession, there's always, you know, network marketing has always done really well. As I said, it's quite funny. Thing about network marketing is a lot of people look down their nose at it. They don't really understand it. You know, if you talk to people, they say one of those things where people get people as if that's a bad thing. And it's hilarious. You know, I've got friends of mine that are business people that would never look at doing CFX, and yet their lives are miserable. They're selling their time for money. So this is the best business model I've ever seen. So again, it's just, we've got a product right now that is right for this market, a product that makes people money and also teaches people how to make money. Now we're about to move into phase 2, and the teaching side of the business is really, really important. It shouldn't be underestimated. It is a major part. The company's spending an absolute fortune on it. John Kinnear, who's my role, as you know, is the marketing director in CFX. He's working flat out on that at the moment, doing all sorts of marketing stuff with it. But this is going to be really important. The headquarters is going to be an important part of that. There's 150 classroom spaces at the head office, and we have to have the live training because that is all part of making it government accredited, which will be a first, I think, for any network marketing company in history to actually get government accreditation. So really, really good when we get that. It's also very much part of the legality of the business because that's what we'll be doing. We'll be selling that. The trading side will still be there, but separate. It is just a recommendation, and obviously people with the copy trading, setting up their own accounts there. So to have those two products in a market where people are looking, as I said, in times of recession, network marketing companies do very well because people sort of kind of wake up and smell the coffee that perhaps having just one business and or a job is not a particularly smart thing to do. If you lose your job, how long would you go without any income before you get into financial trouble? And the answer is often not very long at all. In fact, as the old joke thing, job is just over broke, too much month, the end of the money. All those comments are often the case that you hear with that. So that's one thing. But we also know that, how many people have pensions now? Very few. And this is a major issue. In the next 10, 20 years, there's going to be millions of people retiring, the baby boomers, without pensions or any proper means of income. And of course, the governments around the world are burying their head in the sand on this one because it's a major issue. But they're sort of, well, we're only in power for 4 years or whatever, so we'll leave that to future governments to worry about. But it is going to become a major issue. And the problem is, if people think that they're going to be able to get a job when they're in their 70s or 80s, think again, because again, Elon Musk is quoted just recently saying that he's extremely concerned the fact that there's going to be mass unemployment because of AI, artificial intelligence, and the robots and stuff are going to be taking a lot of jobs. In fact, they've just in the process of launching their latest, it's not a car, it's a lorry, which is basically it's a semi-truck, all electric, totally autonomous, will drive itself. So we're talking not very long before, for example, lorry drivers will, that market will no longer be there. It'll all be done by robots and that kind of thing. And there'll be so many other areas, jobs in factories, that kind of thing, that are going to be replaced. So as Elon Musk says, there's going to be potentially mass unemployment. So if you are someone in your 70s or whatever and hoping you're going to get a job, well, think again. It's not really going to happen for you in those kinds of markets. So again, to have a business that enables people to make money, particularly with their money staying in their control, and also educate people. Education, by the way, online education is one of the biggest growth markets in the world right now, is a very, very good place to be, particularly as, remember, we don't have any upfront or monthly fees. Monthly fees are what cause attrition in businesses. So we are very blessed to be in a business, and it's something both Jules and I say, if we hadn't have found CFX, I think we would have actually been really struggling now as well, because both our businesses outside, Jules is an online marketer. She's specialized in AdWords campaigns. Her businesses have dried up because, again, her customers are struggling. So she would have, so she's now, literally almost retired out of her business. So we feel very blessed to actually have a business that is, making us really good money in a market where so many people are struggling. So we are very lucky, everyone on this call. So that's one thing. So we're really positioned ahead. Now, another sort of thing perhaps I'd like to talk a little bit about is, again, due diligence. You'll hear me banging on about this again and again and again on many of my calls, but it is so important, guys. You know, if you are in a business, you have to have belief in that business. You know, when someone sets up a traditional business, do they have belief in it? Of course they do. You know, they have total belief. But in a network marketing arena, it's so easy to have doubts. And so I don't have doubts. One thing I'll always say is there's no guarantees in business. I can't guarantee you that CFX is going to be around in 6 and 12 months, but I'm confident enough to refer people because the due diligence stacks up and shows that it is very likely that it will be, if you look at everything that's going on. Now, there are lots of people out there that will try and take your dream away from you. Often they do it very cynically because they just want to drive traffic to their websites to make money. And other people, I think, are just misguided. But the fact is, you're going to get a lot of rubbish out there written about CFX in the short term. And therefore, your due diligence is extremely important because if you don't have confidence in the business, two bad things will happen. One, you could end up leaving the business. But just as insidious is that if you don't have that 100% belief in it, you're not going to build a business. Okay, so it's going to affect your income as you move forward. And the key thing is this, that right now, the big opportunity is right now. Because if you build a team now, before we get the copy trading and everything else in place, then the bigger your team, the bigger your growth is going to be as we go into that phase. Because with that phase, I mean, your grandmother's going to be able to show the business and build a team. It's going to be so easy. Right now, we have to show people the due diligence and stuff, but with the copy trading, of course, we won't, because your money's not with CFX, your money's with the broker and that kind of thing, and all the other things that's coming. By the way, just so you know, the company is currently is under audit by a reputable third-party company that is going through all the trades so that the company will be able to demonstrate categorically that all the trading that has been done up to date is 100% legit and above board. And the thing that again makes me smile about that is we already know this. I mean, you know, the brokers confirmed on numerous occasions that the trading's real. And the thing about due diligence is that it's rare that you get a black and white answer, you know, a definitive yes, that's correct or not. Usually you have to just make a judgment call, and usually it's option A, it's one thing, option B, it's another. So again, you know, when we first heard from the brokers that not only the trading was real, but it was very good, there are two options there. Again, one as a regulated company, they are, if you know anything about regulation, they are highly restricted on what they can and cannot do. And if any of you have ever been an IFA or know an IFA, you know, they will tell you that you can't just go out and start recommending stuff that isn't legit, because you're going to get into very serious trouble if you do that. So when you see a regulated company recommending CFX, remember, as the broker, they see everything. CFX are the traders. You need to go through a broker to trade the market. So CFX are the traders, but the broker holds the funds. When CFX makes a trade, the broker instigates the trade. So they can see exactly what CFX are doing. So for them to be publicly recommending CFX, that means option A or option B. Option A, as a regulated company, as the broker, they can see firsthand that CFX is genuine and are confident enough, even though they're regulated, to be able to recommend CFX. Or option B, the directors of the company have decided they like jail food, have decided to put themselves out of business and refer a company that they can see firsthand isn't trading. Now, option A and option B, which is the more likely? Of course, it's option A, isn't it? Is it possible option B? It could be. Very unlikely. Why would a company like that is sponsors of Sevilla Football Club, one of the top clubs in Europe, multi-regulated, they've gone through the hassle of being multi-regulated, not just one regulatory body, multiple regulatory bodies. Why would they do that? It would be, well, as I said, business suicide at best and potentially jail sentences at worst. So it is extremely unlikely that they would do that, isn't it? So again, we know the trading's real. Last month, we had a 30% return on the copy trading. Can't be faked. Okay, and yet there are people out there still talking about, oh, CFX is this, CFX is that. And of course, you know, we mustn't forget that in 21 or 22 months, the company's paid out hundreds of millions of dollars. Think about that. Every weekend, how much do you reckon CFX are paying out? Millions and millions. It must be tens of millions of dollars every weekend, like clockwork. And yeah, sure, there's been a lot of people joining that week with $300 packs. So how's that going to work? How's CFX going to pay out that kind of money with only small, you know, it's still a lot of money coming into the company, but certainly not enough to cover the payments going out. So again, little things like this that you've got to understand. The company's just launched their own payment processor. Why do that if they were thinking short term? Again, so many people don't realize that, you know, that is a big deal. CFX have just launched their own PayPal. I'll say that again. CFX have just launched their own PayPal, their own payment processor. Okay, hugely expensive, huge amount of work. It's taken them over a year to get this to market. I was talking to Ron Pope. They had something ridiculous, like 50 engineers working behind the scenes, not just on that, but they're on many other aspects of the business. But imagine what that wage bill alone is for CFX.